Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello, 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 I'm Kalina.
And I'm Elanor.
And welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where we kind of talk about movies. And we are hitting our quota for the month. We're talking about a movie.
To be clear, our quota is that we mention a movie once a month. We have to start there.
Well, you know what? I think we exceed the quota every time. What we do is you set the bar really low,
and
then we just
look
exceed
amazing.
Expectations every single time.
Exactly.
Today, we are talking about a movie that, after rewatching and after hearing Eleanor's thoughts on, I have decided that I watched entirely to I watched it at a very pivotal point, I think, in my formative years, and it just kind of stuck with me. Anyway, we're talking about Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock and Benjamin Bratt, and it is from 2000, and it's got some other important people, but the important people are Sandra Bullock and Benjamin Bratt, okay? And basically, long story short, about an FBI agent, she goes undercover at the Miss America pageant to try and stop them from getting blown up. And she learns things about feminism and inner beauty and
love and life and
how hot Benjamin Bratt is.
Mostly how hot Benjamin Bratt is.
That was my takeaway from the movie. Anyway, what happened was, I have seen this before. Elanor was on the plane and said, "Hello, what movie should I watch?" And then gave me some options, and I saw Miss Congeniality, and I said, "That's it. That's the one." And then I said, "I really hope you like it, because I think I'll be a little bit devastated if you don't, because I really like that movie."
I like it. I'm looking right now for my notes, because I didn't really take notes. I just sent Kalina text messages from the plane. My first thought was I was a little scared to watch this, because sometimes things from the early 2000s
are bad.
Don't hold up as well as perhaps we might want them to.
Yeah.
But there was only one part of this movie where I was like,
Yeah, me too. I don't remember what it was, but I remember I wrote it down. So.
I believe for me it was a joke about dropping the soap in prison.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh.
I didn't write that down. When we get to it, I'll tell you.
Okay. Oh, right.
Anyway, while Elanor looks for her notes.
Yes, please start talking.
I'll set the scene. Set the scene. We open up. We're on a playground. There's children playing. There's a little girl with glasses. This boy's getting bullied. She steps in and she's like, "Hey, leave him alone." And then the head bully, he's like, "If you weren't a girl, I'd hit you." And then the girl says, "If you weren't a girl, I'd hit you." I'm paraphrasing here. And then she hits him. And then she turns to the boy and she's like, "You shouldn't let them bully you, because, the things they're bullying you for, some girls like me." And he was like, "Yeah, well, I wish you didn't help me, because now everyone thinks I need a girl to help me." So then she punched him too. And that's how the movie starts. Because this movie, one core theme in this movie is very much the idea of internalized misogyny and how women are pitted against women. And I think sometimes when that happens in movies, it's very easy to just be like, that's just a facet of society. Women grow up to hate women, and women are stupid for doing that. Whereas here, I think they gave you a very clear, this was a formative thing that happened to her, that she was like, the boys don't like me, the girls also don't like me, and guys don't like when you're tough. And since I can't make anyone happy, I might as well just have a good time and make myself happy, is the gist. And then we get to see grown up, and that's our introduction to Gracie Hart, who it's the character Sandra Bullock plays. And then we get to see grown up Gracie Hart. And my first note, which Eleanor agreed with, is glasses don't make Sandra Bullock not hot.
They really, really, truly don't. I get it, and I know what they're trying to do, but it's still Sandra Bullock, okay?
I don't think they were going for a typical of the time makeover where she was the worst possible human being you could imagine, looks wise, but they were acting like she was a lot less redeemable than she was, when it was just clear. I wouldn't even say she didn't take care of herself. It was just clear that was not her priority.
Yeah, she definitely
she
showered,
looked a little homely,
and I'm sure she smelled fine, but she did not brush her hair.
The one thing I didn't like, though, is they're all in the FBI, and all the men were, like, wearing, like, nice suits, and they never had her in the equivalent. Like, I think she looked a little too homely for someone who was working in the FBI, just to stress the difference that, like, she's not like other girls. I think it would have made sense for her to be in a suit. Just, again, she didn't brush her hair. It was, like, she was wearing her glasses. Okay, so after we go to the playground, they're, like, doing, like, an undercover thing. I really like this little, like, not gag, but, like, the little... I don't know, gadget they use is she's like she's pretending to read a book in this restaurant, but the book's got a camera in it, so she's gotta like maneuver herself around.
I like nobody's looking at her. Okay, we talked a little bit about how she is homely. She does not attract any sort of attention, good, bad, indifferent. So like she's not disgusting is the moral of the thing, but she has to hug the waitress to keep the camera on where it's supposed to be on. And you know what? I love a good bit of physical comedy. Was it a little bit obvious? Yes. Was it fun? Also, yes.
I think that while she like again we agreed it's not like she's not hot, but I do think the way they dressed her did a good job of like making her less noticeable. Because Sandra Bullock's like really pretty, especially once they dress her up later in the movie. She's like. I would always be looking at her, right? So, like, I think they did a good job of, like, well, not necessarily making her completely in completely like horrible looking. It was a good way to like kind of make her blend in almost, especially being in the FBI or like in this restaurant where she's like a man, a woman in a room full of men in a male dominated space, yada yada yada.
But also, they do put her in the ugliest shoes imaginable at all times when she's in the FBI. And I don't think that's particularly necessary. The men just get regular black shoes, and she gets these gross little, yeah. So anyway, at the sting operation inside the restaurant, I want to say it's a Russian restaurant, but then also I feel like it's racist to assume that it's a Russian restaurant just because it's a movie from the early 2000s. What happens is something goes wrong because the mob boss, they're eating at a table, but they're also like talking mob business as you do in public. And they get like the guns on most of them, but I don't think they're physically restrained, but one of them starts choking. And Sandra Bullock, because she's a woman, is like, oh my God, I have to save him. That's, like, definitely the vibe they're giving. That's not my commentary. That's, like, the vibe that they're giving off.
No, I'm so sorry. You're so wrong about that because this comes up later in the movie. Patience is not a virtue that Gracie Hart possesses because she's sitting there and he's turning purple. And she's like, no, he doesn't, and she's waiting. But she says he doesn't deserve to choke and die. Like, he needs to stand trial because his victims didn't get to choke and die. And the only reason I know for a fact that's not the vibe is because later in the movie I wrote down patience is not a virtue she possesses, because there's a scene later where she acts a little harsh, like a little too rashly, and then we'll talk about it when it comes up.
Okay. All right. But he does get saved in the hubbub of trying to, save the choking man and also not let any of the other bad guys go. An agent gets shot. And it's determined to be Gracie's fault because she kind of ruffled everything up by trying to save the choking guy. And so that causes her to get in trouble at work. And she is almost like instantly, permanently demoted. Like, the guy did not die, right? The guy didn't die.
No, and, I get, while they were waiting to find out news, why she was kind of tense, but, afterwards, they're like, he's gonna be fine, he'll make a full recovery, and, I know it's not great to get shot, but, also, you signed up to be an FBI agent, that's, kind of par for the course. I'm so sorry. Getting shot on the job is not, if I got shot doing my job, I'd be really confused, because there's no scenario in which that should happen. Exactly. Being an FBI agent, slightly less confused about it.
If I got shot in my job, it's my fault for working at a school in America,
I didn't want to go there, but I was like, it's slightly less shocking if you get shot than if I get shot. I mean, it's more shocking that if you get shot than an FBI agent getting shot, at least. I hope so. Anyway,
we're... Yeah, totally
also,
not the point.
Wait. This is not just because I love this man, but he is actually an important character. One of the agents that's also, in the sting at the Russian restaurant is Benjamin Bratt, who's playing Eric Matthews, and he's dressed up as a homeless man outside, and he comes in and helps, yada yada yada. So when he comes back, so when they all come back to work the next day or whenever the next time is, and they are like, oh yeah, the agent who got shot, he's fine. Also we have the citizen has struck again. So I guess the citizen is some bomber they've been tracking for a while, and they give Eric Matthews lead on the case so he can pick whatever team he would like.
Are they partners or are they just like buddies?
I think they're just buddies. Like, I think they've probably partnered on things, but I think, like, the whole thing about Gracie is she's like a tomboy to the extreme. And again, back to the whole internalized misogyny. Like, we don't see her interact with women because she's the only woman on her team in her immediate circle. But you get the very clear vibe that, like even in the playground scene, she's the only girl we see, I'm pretty sure. So, like, you get the vibe that, like, she's used to being the girl in the male spaces, but it's not even like a... Like, usually when they do these stories, it's like the girl's in with the guys and they hate women together. Whereas here, it's just kind of like Gracie is by herself all of the time. So she doesn't, like... I don't think the men hate her, but, like, they like, you know, rag on her more than they would a quote-unquote a traditional woman, whatever you want to say, or, like, a woman they find hot and think have value. But at the same time, she's not really in with the crowd. So... Basically, long story short, I think Matthews is, like, her closest friend in the team, but they also have a very, like, they don't have like a lovey-dovey relationship. They like to antagonize each other.
They do. And Kalina watched this movie too early. So anyway, the citizen, who I guess is this bad guy they've known about for a while, says that he's gonna bomb a beauty pageant, and the Eric Matthews, Benjamin Bratt, gets put in charge. And he's got, like, no good... I'm pretty sure that Gracie has the idea, but then he's like, oh, that was my idea because I'm the lead on it.
He didn't even do that. I hate that scene. There's a scene where she's trying to help, and then he's like, yeah, we figured that out already. And then they're like trying to brainstorm. And so it's all these men sitting around the table, and Gracie's, like, technically not supposed to be there because she's on desk duty. So she's, like, in the background, and they're, like, trying to brainstorm what they're supposed to do, but, you know, they're men and they can't think straight because the thought of, I don't know, women in a swimsuit competition blowing their minds. So they're like, what do we do? How do we get down to text? Blah, blah, blah. So Gracie's, like, suggesting all these things. And Eric doesn't even go, yeah, then, like, repeats the idea. He's like, yeah, so Gracie will say the idea, and he goes, yeah, after I do that, then what do we do? After you do what? You didn't say anything. But, like, everyone in the room is just pretending the words coming out of Gracie's mouth are coming out of Eric's mouth, and Eric's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then I think after I tell you all to do that, we should do this thing next. And I hate that scene because it's not even, I mean, like, it happens, and it's not even played. Like, I think if he repeated it and pretended he came up with the idea, then it would be played to be funny. But it's really just, like, infuriating.
It's just kind of mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then she, like, again, she's already, it's not like she's got it in with them, so she's kind of on the outside, so it's not worth it for her to be like, you didn't come up with that idea.
Nobody would take her
anyone
side.
would listen to her.
No.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, a weird thing for the love interest to be, like, for that to kind of be the one of the first times we get a lot of...
because I don't think he's been, like, presented as the love interest yet. But, like, if you are my closest friend... Like, I think out of all of the team members, he genuinely likes Gracie, like, as a friend. So if you are my actual friend, for you to treat me, like, act like... Like, I know I didn't listen, and I know, like, I'm technically on desk duty, but, like, you're my friend. The least you could do is be like, thanks for the idea, Gracie.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Even if on paper, because I'm not supposed to be there, you tell the boss, no, it was my idea. But, like, support me in person. Which comes up later, too. I do like, rewatching this made me realize, like, the stuff that showed up in the beginning did parallel at the end, and I like how they handled those things.
Okay. I'll be looking to you for that, because I only watched it once on a plane, so...
I was trying not to, spend my whole time talking about Benjamin Bratt, so I had to get intellectual.
The idea, though, is... You're still going to spend the whole time talking about Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea is that a lady... Well, it doesn't have to be a lady, but somebody goes undercover at the beauty pageant so they can, like, get in on the inside and hopefully stop the bomb if it actually gets planted. And then we have this scene where this is one of my favorite things in like 2000s movies, where the technology is like so bad that it's good. And like they just be doing things really. So there's this screen. It's all the men probably in the whole world sitting around this big computer screen, and then Gracie standing there also. And what they're doing is they're putting a bikini on the person, but like it magically photoshops itself into like a great image, which like
the worst
that's
part
not how that works.
Is homeboy goes, I got this game from my daughter, and it's like a dress-up doll game on the computer. And I'm like, you said that, and no one in the room was like, maybe this is bad what we're doing.
Yeah, I did not appreciate him bringing up his daughter. I feel like she should have stayed out of the conversation entirely.
I was like, you all heard that, and you were like, yeah, let's play a game, right? Let's take a game intended for children and entertain ourselves.
Although, dress-up games are very fun.
They're very fun. Yeah.
But like when you use them for good and not for putting your coworkers in little tiny bikinis. Some of these men act like they have never seen a woman before, even though they work with Gracie all day. So
yeah, I don't think she's fallen into a woman category for them yet, though.
No. I don't think she's even in coworker category. I think she's still like a fly.
She's there.
Yeah.
Like she's in the room. There's a scene, we didn't talk about, but there's a scene where like she gets a phone call and she like is speeding down the road. She bursts into this coffee shop and she's like, I'm here on FBI business, da 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 da. And it's all just so she can take their coffee orders. I don't even think she gets coffee for herself, but she's like, I need 5 tall, all black coffees. I need 4 of these. I need 2 blueberry muffins with the little things on. Like, that's what she's been relegated to.
I will say though, that was kind of a power move. I did like that. If I had an FBI badge, I would never wait in line again.
I never felt like obviously it was because she was a woman, but I never felt like they were playing like she had to go get the coffee and do tasks like that because she was a woman. It was more because she was the outsider. Her being a woman contributed to that, obviously, but it wasn't solely, oh, that's the lady.
Yeah.
Like, I think, this doesn't sound good, but they didn't think she was capable of being a good agent, not because she was a woman, because like she did things like not listen when they told her to hang on 2 seconds and don't help the choking man. I think she should have helped him. I agree with her philosophy, but
so like it's good that they're just generally disrespectful and not sexist.
Anyway, they're playing the little computer game, they're dressing everyone up, and then they finally get Gracie, right? And everyone sees Gracie on the screen. Or, like, they put their boss in a dress first, but then he walked up, so, like, half the room cleared out. Because he was like, and then the boss, I thought this was funny, he was like, if I'm the best they have to offer to go undercover, we're in dire straits, or something like that. But then Gracie's up on the screen, because they're looking at, like, all female agents, field agents under 35, or something like that. And Gracie pulls up, and, like, everyone left in the room was like, oh, come on, it's Gracie, like, no way. And Matthews is like, no, let's see. So they put the dress on her. And he was like, wait, that's not half bad. And Gracie's like, absolutely not. Take a photo, because this is the only time in your life you're going to see a photo of me in a dress. Move on. And then we get Matthews trying to convince her to help him out and go undercover as a beauty contestant.
Well, another thing was that the only other hot girl that they decided was a hot girl was out on maternity leave. So it really was kind of Gracie or nothing. But Gracie did not like that idea.
Yeah, what happens is she takes over from Miss New Jersey, and like the long story short is they go to the pageant director, whose name escapes me, but I call her a head honcho lady.
Yeah, pretty sure that's her name.
They go to the pageant director, who like won years ago, and now she runs it. And they're like, hello, here's the gist. You guys are gonna get bombed. We want to put an agent undercover, and you have to make sure she gets to the top 10 or top 5. And they were like, and you want to put her undercover? Because it's Matthews and Gracie that go. And they're like, you want to put her undercover? And Eric Matthews was like, yeah, what you mean? What's wrong with her? Look at her. She's perfect. And so the lady's like, okay, I'm going to call like this pageant consultant. He works miracles, yada, yada, yada. And then they're like, but whose place is she going to take? And she's going to take Miss New Jersey's place. And so then they go to meet Victor Melling, who's like this pageant consultant. And he says...
sorry. There's this shot in the film. So yeah, like Kalina said, they're meeting with the head honcho of the pageant, and they like in this meeting room is where they
stand.
Yeah. In the meeting room is where they hold the crown, I guess, or past crown, whatever. But there's this shot where it's the head honcho, and then just the way the crown is in the way background. It's like either in a display case or up on the wall. But like just they get it just right where it looks like she's wearing the crown while she's talking, and I just really appreciated that shot because I thought it was really fun.
We're media students.
Yes.
So after they meet with her, they go to meet Victor Melling in a restaurant. Victor Melling goes, "If you are Gracie Hart, I quit right now," because he just thought she was horrible. Victor Melling's like supposed to make you a lady, you know? Although I usually think he started with ladies and was just supposed to refine them. He started with Gracie, who I love, was not a lady by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? Which is okay. And then, so her and Matthews were supposed to sit down with him. And then he I don't know if he was hitting on Matthews for real or just hitting on Matthews to get rid of him. If it were me, I'd be hitting on him for real. But he kind of puts his hand on his shoulder and is talking to him. Matthews is like, "Oh, I'll leave the two of you to it. I have that, I remember that thing I told you I have to do." And Gracie's like, "No, you didn't tell me anything." He's like, "Yeah, no, the thing that I definitely told you I have to go do, I'm going to go do that right now." And then we get a scene of her at dinner, and she's cutting into this rare steak and just a mess. It's like, you remember She's the Man? They have a scene like that in She's the Man. Where Viola's mother tells her, "Viola, chew like you have a secret," and then she just keeps chewing with her mouth open, but making a ridiculous face while she does it. That sort of vibe. We get what I believe is the best makeover scene in any movie ever, because usually they do makeover scenes and they're like, "Oh my God, you're beautiful and you have value now," and "Oh my God, you're beautiful and the world is beautiful," but they make over Gracie and she's still just as rude as she was before. And I think while they didn't trust Gracie as an agent, they agreed she had value as an agent at the same time. Obviously she got into the FBI for a reason, so they knew she could handle herself. We get this scene where, or a little earlier, where Matthews is trying to convince her to go undercover, and they're sparring and wrestling, and everyone else stops working out to watch the two of them just go at it. But she can handle herself. She is competent as a person. And then she comes out in the most beautiful dress I've ever seen in my life.
But in the makeover scene, there is a shot where they zoom in when they're waxing her legs, and there is no hair on that leg. Okay, it is
like those razor commercials.
Yes, and it was very funny to me.
I thought actually during the makeover is when she looked the worst, but it wasn't because she looked bad. It was when they had a face mask on her a couple times, and I think that was the time she probably looked not cute. And I was like, obviously she's got stuff caked on her face.
Kalina, that's a really harmful way to think about makeup.
Elanor. I said it was something about what you feel on side is what people respond to, and I think because of, again, that formative experience we saw at the beginning, but how Gracie's been treated her whole life, she just assumes people won't like her, men and women, and so she's just kind of prickly off the bat, and people respond to that even if she doesn't realize, but that's what she's expecting them to. That's how she's expecting them to behave, so they're responding to that because that's what she's putting out.
Yeah. Yeah. People aren't going to be nice to you if you don't, if you're just mean off the bat. But also she thinks they're not going to be nice to her anyway, so she might as well just say mean things. And she got a full-time job and some pretty dresses for free, so it's worked out for her.
Honestly, one of my favorite scenes in the makeover is she's not supposed to be eating anything bad. So she every time she tries to grab a donut, your man sticks his hand in and swaps it out for something else. So she's eating the celery stick, and Matthews is gloating. He's like, "I can eat the donut." So she just takes the celery stick and launches it at the back of his head, and I thought that was really funny for some reason. And then the FBI guys are waiting out. First of all, they did this makeover in an airplane hangar, and I don't think she was that bad that they did the airplane.
They really acted like she was Captain America getting that serum put in for the first time. That is honestly the intensity of this,
but from scratch. Yeah. So we get the scene, and they're waiting outside the airplane hangar. They're parked up on the car, and they're like, "God, where is she?" Right? And then the doors open, and the makeup crew comes out, and everyone's wearing pink for some reason, but the makeup crew comes out, and then Gracie emerges between all of them, wearing the most beautiful little purple dress I've ever seen in my life. And hair straight. She looks gorgeous, and all the FBI men stand up there like, Gracie, and she's like, don't talk to me. She's like, I haven't eaten, I'm tired, and I'm armed. Don't talk to me. And then she immediately trips and falls on her face.
Yes. And I was very glad for that, because I would have been very upset if they put her in a pretty dress and then all of a sudden she was acting brand new.
Yeah, and she was like off the bat sassing him like they usually do, because that's what their relationship's like. Oh, and then the name they gave her, because when he was trying to convince her, she was like, what, am I going to be Gracie Lou Freebush? So when she looks at her fake ID, it says Gracie Lou Freebush, and he's like, yeah, I remembered you liked that name. And she looks like she wants to, and then, but I didn't like this part, is he goes, yeah, I remember you liked that. And she goes, great, well, my IQ just dropped 10 points. But she did have to start there to get to where we get at the end of the movie.
Yeah, there's no growth if you're already good at the start of the movie. And also, I did think it was kind of funny, because I'm 12 and laugh at things like Freebush.
So they take her from there, and then they go to this, like, welcome brunch where all the Miss Americas are, and, you know, the head honcho lady and the judge give their little introduction, blah, 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 blah. But they have to get on, like, this little trolley to do it first, and the head honcho lady's like, let's sing a song. I'm sure you all know it. And listen, I no longer am, I think I'm Gracie at the end of the movie, whereas before I was Gracie at the beginning of the movie. So now I can recognize Gracie at the beginning of the movie is not behaving nicely. I wouldn't want to get on a bus full of strangers and sing a song.
That's like theater camp shit, and that is the worst place you can put a human being. Psychological warfare.
Especially because, like, again, back to, like, what's on the inside is reflecting. That's what people respond to. Is Gracie, I think, yes, she doesn't think these girls are smart or, like, have any value beyond they're pretty, and that she doesn't really think there's value in that. But also, I think she's intimidated by them because she knows that's what men value. Or, like, that's what, not just men, that's what, like, she doesn't have what they have, and society puts those women above her because she doesn't have what they have. So, like, she's on a bus full of women she's probably not even realizing, but probably intimidated by. And then we gotta sing a song.
Yeah, and she's also still, like, incredibly uncomfortable in the new getup. Like, she's so far out of her depth that, and it's probably early in the morning. I'd be grumpy too.
Yeah. And she said, she's like, I haven't slept, I haven't eaten, and I'm armed, don't talk to me. And then, this is the most embarrassing note I have, because I just went back through our chat. So, I will tell you. They're at their little, welcome dinner, and they're, like, talking. She's, like, meeting the people at her table. So she sits next to Miss Rhode Island, Cheryl, on the bus. And then, so when they get there, Miss Rhode Island's like, this is our table. It's Miss Texas and Miss California, Miss New York, Miss Hawaii, I think, and then the two of them. And, Gracie she's trying to diffuse an argument at the table, so she makes some stupid joke, and she laughs. And, like, we've seen this a couple times, is she'll laugh at something, but no one else laughs with her. And in this scene, she laughs, and Miss Rhode Island, Cheryl, laughs with her. And Elanor and I, word for word, both wrote, at least she thinks I'm funny, because that's what Gracie says about Cheryl. At least she thinks I'm funny, in quotes. Us. That's a text you sent me, and that is a note I have written on my phone. I hate us a little bit, but yeah, sometimes I'll be laughing at something. Eleanor's the only person who...
Look, we have identified our target audience. We're marketing geniuses.
Each other. And then, what was this note about? Oh, so after they have the little orientation brunch, sorry, do you have any thoughts on the orientation brunch? Any want to weigh in? I've been talking for a while.
I just don't appreciate how this movie handles food. I didn't love that. Just, like, generally, but also it was from the 2000s, so, like, they get kind of a pass there. If I know, you know, people who participate in pageants are well-rounded individuals. I would kill myself if I was in a room that big with all of them. I'm so sorry. I love women, and I think they should be able to do whatever they want. I don't think they should have to talk to me. I would, if I was Gracie Lou Freebush, I would jump off a building.
Again, and that's like me now. Like, I like to think I'm a beautiful, confident, evolved woman, and I appreciate women but, like, yeah, a room full of them that, like, and also, like, Gracie's still not there for like, she doesn't want to be there. She just wants to catch the bad guy and do her job. It's not like has any interest in these women. I'd simply die. I don't think I could do that. It's tough.
To be fair to, like, both of us, I think there's no room of that size that I would feel comfortable in if everybody else in the room had a common interest. And, like, I was on the outside of it in any way, shape, or form. But, like, I
you want to
really...
hear a life hack, everyone? Oh, my God. No, we don't want to hear a life hack. We've been here for 43 minutes. Okay.
Oh, wait, I was just going to say
not even halfway through the
one
movie.
thing.
Yes.
Even though I do love women, when somebody is better at makeup than me, I instantly hate them, and that is a catty mean girl thing that I cannot get rid of. I am trying. It's not working. Well, like, I don't think I'm the pinnacle of makeup, but, like, don't do my thing better than me.
Elanor and I are opposites attract. Elanor does, like, she does, like, these productions, and they're very nice, and I love them.
And this is your
production. I don't know how to put it. And yes, and I wear makeup maybe twice a year. So, and by wear makeup I mean I put foundation on and call it a day. So, sorry, we're not even halfway through the movie. And
we're not even. Yeah, this is. I have.
So
okay.
I'm gonna breeze through. I'll go through the scenes. If I have a comment, I'll say it. If you have a comment, you hop in. Okay.
Okay.
So, they have this little scene where they're like learning the dances and like little pageantry things they all need to do as a group. And I said, she's so uncoordinated in these and doesn't make any sense because we've seen her fighting, and fighting requires some sort of coordination. So she shouldn't be like this comically bad at it. And then girls like Cheryl make it fun to be girls because there's a scene where she's in the room with her roommate and Cheryl knocks on the door and she's like, do you want hot chocolate? And I was like, when you meet a girl like that, like, it's so fun to be a girl. And they're like chit-chatting about like their talents and blah, 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 blah. Then Benjamin Bratt and Eric Matthews shows up and he's like, come, we need... Please, I said, Benjamin Bratt, please come knock on my door in the middle of the night, because he shows up in her room and he's like, come, we gotta go discuss things. And she's like, no, I'm so tired. And he's like, I'll give you a cookie. And she's like, it better be a big cookie. So they go. And I don't remember what they discussed there. Oh, sorry. No, Victor wants her to, like, go over her talent and things for the next day. So, like, this poor girl's running on, like, an hour of sleep. She's so hungry.
I don't think Gracie was aware that she had to have a talent.
No, she wasn't.
Isn't she? Okay. And, yeah, and Victor's like, well, I just had to make you pretty. I ain't giving you a talent. Which is kind of a mean...
Oh, yeah, and she goes...
There's a bomb, dude.
I'm going to do something I haven't done since high school. And Victor goes, you are not having sex on stage. And she goes, haha, I didn't know that was an option. And
it's
her
not. That's why
like,
Miss New Jersey got kicked out.
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia...
her talent, she plays music on glasses.
That's called a glass harp. And I don't like that so many people are doing it that it has a name.
I don't know. I feel like it came up a lot more when I was younger, at least in movies. Kind of like, you know how like quicksand seemed like a really big problem when you were little? People playing glasses. And then this is one of the best scenes in the whole movie. I know I said we were going to breeze through this. He takes her back to her room, drops her off, and he mentions how like he thinks she looks nice, and she sings. She's like, "You think I'm gorgeous? You want to marry me?" And then he walks up all close to her, and she's like, "You want to kiss me?" And he like walks up all close to her and stands over her because he's taller than her, and she's like, stop singing, and then he looks like he's going to kiss her, and then instead he leans in and takes a bite out of a chocolate bar and he says, have a good night. And I too would get stupid if Benjamin Bratt was that close to me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, if any. Yeah.
Especially the height. Like, I am tall. I like someone who can stand over me. I would die. I'd simply die.
One time,
and he's in his little like casual
I met a woman who was like 6'5", and she hugged me, and I... But yeah, Gracie and Mr. Hot Boy, they're bonding. They are becoming closer.
Yeah.
I do really like that this is a rom-com, but there's very little rom. That makes it better.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it... back to the whole makeover, like, I think it's a good makeover movie. It's not like she got pretty and then all of a sudden he was like, oh my god, you're so hot. Because, like, there's a couple of scenes, I think, or earlier, just before that scene where he almost kisses her or pretends to almost kiss her, he says to Victor Manley, look, you made her gorgeous. And she smiles and he goes, well, compared to what she looked like before, but, like, not like he's trying to deny his feelings, but, like, kind of that's just the relationship they have. So it wasn't like she got hot. He was like, oh my god, you're hot. Like, I think he liked her before that.
Yeah.
At least, even if it was just as a friend, he did, like, there was something about her that he was attracted to. And then this is the scene where I said we would come back to later, where I said patience is not a virtue she possesses. So she's doing her talent, she's playing the little water harp, whatever. And she sees a guy who she thinks is the citizen because he's got a gun, and she jumps off, even though everyone's like, no, hold on, wait, let me get eyes on him. She's like, nope, I'm going for it. And she leaps off the stage to attack the man, only come to find out he was just trying to pull out a cigarette and not a gun. So then she's got to do damage control, and she's like, well, you know, we here at Miss America smoking kills, so he'll think twice now before he ever pulls out a cigarette again. But, like, that's why I felt like the scene in the beginning wasn't a woman thing, and more like she doesn't know how to wait.
That's fair. And the funniest part of that scene is somebody said, it's Texas. They all have guns.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at one point Victor says the way she like carries herself, he says, have you no pride in yourself? And I think that's the crux of the issue, is she, like, the movie is she doesn't know how to have pride in herself. I think she's confident in what she can do, but, like, beyond, like, her work, she doesn't have pride, she's not confident. And so I think, like, that's where you're kind of like, oh, it's not just she hates women, you know? And, like, you can be two things, and I think Gracie is starting to realize this about now, but, like, you can't, like, it's not like you can't be pretty and also intelligent. You can be pretty and an FBI agent. You can be pretty and intelligent. You can be pretty and 50 other things. You can be whatever you want. And, like, I don't think Gracie ever put that together because, you know, one day someone told her she wasn't pretty. And she's like, well, if I'm not pretty, I'll be the other thing. But, like, you can be two things.
Stuff can be two things. That's a Brooklyn Nine-Nine quote. And I try to live my life by it.
I don't remember what he said to her specifically, but I have a note here that says, Benjamin Bratt says something to her about how he thinks she's pretty, but he also thinks, you know, he's walking her back to her room another time, and he's like, you know, you're funny, and you're nice to talk to when you're not armed, and you're pretty. And I really liked that scene because it didn't feel like the message, like she took in the message or she became worthy because he was a man who now found her hot, but I thought she took in the message because it was her friend telling her that. I think they did a really good job in this rom-com of, like, walking the line between when he was the love interest and when he was her friend.
It's sweet or whatever. It's a very nice, like, it's a very realistic kind of... I've never had an FBI agent be in love with me, but, like, it looks realistic.
If anyone wanted to change that, though. I still don't get the swimsuit portion of Miss America competitions now. I'm sure that's something that stemmed from when it was just kind of a vapid thing and then they kind of stuck. But, like, when they try to, like, now that it's stuck, right, they're like, you know, to show off these, but, like, they, like, come up with some stupid reason to have a swimsuit competition, but the reason they come up with, like, me wearing a swimsuit is not showing that off. It's, like, to show off their poise and grace.
I feel like that also didn't help Gracie, is, like, it's not just that they were women, and it's not just that they were beauty pageant women, which did not help. It's that they knew exactly what they were doing there, and, like, what she was doing, she knew what she was doing there, because she was there to catch a bad guy. That is an entirely different motivation from anyone else. So she just went from being an outsider with boys to being an outsider with girls, and it goes back to the beginning, and it did not help whatever the hell was going on in her head.
And I think as she's realizing, because, like, you'll hear her talking to these women, or, like, you know, there's that, again, the joke that they're vapid and, like, they just want, you know, world peace is the answer to everything. But, like, when you talk to these women, they actually have things they stand up for, and I think she's, like, beginning to put this together, but is still fighting with this assumption she's had this whole time.
It's like she still thinks the group is bad, but, like, she's meeting individuals, and she's like, oh my god, well, if this one's good, and then this one's good, and then this one's good.
Yeah, like, and then what I was thinking was when they're doing the swimsuit competition and stuff, and then they're doing their little interviews, which is where we get the scene, describe the perfect date. And Cheryl, Miss Rhode Island, goes, that's tough. I would have to say April 25th, because it's not too hot and it's not too cold. All you need is a jacket. And, like, but, like, during that whole scene, you're watching the crowd, and there's, like, Navy SEALs, and there's people, like, wolf whistling when these girls are walking around their swimsuits. And I was like, honestly, if I were to argue anyone in this scenario were vapid, it would be the audience, because, supply and demand. There wouldn't be, if there wasn't demand for girls walking around in their swimsuits to show off their poison grace, we wouldn't be walking around in our swimsuits to show off our poison grace.
Walking around in our swimsuits to go to the beach.
And then there's a scene that I think is really funny, is they are starting to suspect, I believe, Cheryl, Miss Rhode Island, of being the citizen, because they found some, like, footage of her at an animal rights protest. And so they're like, you got to go ask her and, like, figure it out. Ask her, like, go interview her, right? And she's like, I don't know how to get it out of her. And Eric Matthews goes, just imagine she's me, and I'm telling, like, I have something that I don't want to tell you, but you want to know. And Gracie goes, you want me to beat it out of her? And he's like, Jesus. He's like, God, no. So basically they, like, send her off to go do girl talk. And, like, girl talk is tough when you don't know how to do it. Oh, this is also where there was the joke I didn't like, is, so she takes her earpiece out because she's like, I can't do girl talk if there's a guy in my ear. She's like, I can barely do girl talk by myself. So what she does is she brings pizza, because this whole time they've all, been restricted because they're in a pageant. So she brings pizza and beer, and they're like, to Cheryl and some of the other girls, and they're like, oh my God, you can't have that. And they're like, Gracie's like, it's fine. She's going to throw it up anyway. And I was like, oh, love that one.
Not ideal for me either.
But they basically, and, like, the pizza was small, and there was, like, 8 of them. I was like, oh, one slice each will not kill you, okay? It's not going to show up on your body tomorrow that badly. So they all have pizza, they drink, they go out to, like, a paint party, and they're trying to, like, Gracie's trying to get information because they think Cheryl is the one, and then she realizes Cheryl isn't. And, what's the line? Oh, yeah, she goes, speaking of crimes, have you ever committed a crime? I was like, so, this is the FBI interrogation technique?
It worked. Okay? She went the most obvious route, but that is a crime. Okay? I stand by it. Oh, Kalina's talking about the April, 25th, 28th, whatever, answer. There's a scene where Cheryl's like, I just got so nervous, I would have said this. And I just like that because, I don't know, I'm a Cheryl apologist.
Yeah, and then again, and I think it's another layer to these women seem stupid, because if all you're watching is this interview where she what's your perfect date? Oh, April 25th. And then, now she knows Cheryl, and Cheryl's like, no, I just, I got really nervous. I would have said I wanted to go out on a romantic dinner, and, like, we talk about books.
I think it's helpful for Gracie to know that they're also nervous,
And then Cheryl, so after Cheryl says she stole panties, Cheryl says also there was, like, that her teacher assaulted her in college. And Gracie's like, and, like, I think this is a very pivotal moment for Gracie. Like, she's kind of towing the line of, like, changing, but here she realizes, because she's like, oh my God, did you tell anyone? And Cheryl's like, oh no, I didn't. Like, it's fine. That happens all the time. And Gracie's like, that's not fine. Like, that's not okay. And so she, like, gets up to show her waist to defend herself, but then Cheryl had been drinking for the first time probably ever, so then she passes out. So they take her home, and then they finally, this is another parallel to the beginning, where basically they catch the citizen, they find him holed up, and Gracie's like, I don't think it's the citizen, because she had gotten some information about the head honcho lady in charge of the whole pageant, and she was like, I think, like, the person who threatened to bomb the Miss America pageant was pretending it was a copycat, and I think we should investigate the lady. And her boss is down there, and he's like, nope, we got him if you want to. And she's like, can I stay with a small team? He said no. She says, can I stay by myself? He's like, you can do whatever you want, but leave your badge and your gun. But during this whole scene, Eric is in the room, and Eric keeps trying to, like, get her to stop talking, and she's like, no, like, I really think there's something here. I don't think the citizen is the right guy. And he's standing there, and at one point Eric, like, whispers to her, he goes, can't you, he's like, Gracie, won't you just shut up? And she goes, I think you're shutting up enough for the both of us. And, like, I would have been done with him after that, but, like, that kind of goes back to he thinks she's a good agent, but for some reason, in the face of, like, his boss, and in the face of, like, even the group of, like, the other FBI men, he won't stand up for her. But it's not even, and that's what she, like, one time she says something to the effect of, like, it's not even that, like, you didn't help me, you just didn't do anything at all, you just stand there. And, like, I thought we were friends, homie. And it doesn't matter how hot you are. Can't get around with it.
Yeah. I do think he probably should have had a little bit more confidence in her abilities.
Yeah, or even, like, don't tell her to shut up, but, like, you could be like, Gracie, like, it's closed, like, yeah, Gracie has, I can see her points. but it's closed. And at one point she goes, I know everyone thinks I'm a screw up, and I'm really glad they didn't like make it a very traditional rom-com line and be like, I didn't think you did too, because she doesn't say that, but she's like, I know everyone thinks I'm a screw up, but like basically the gist of it is like, I didn't, you know, the least you could do was support me.
Or like trust that she's been embroiled in this a little bit more than anybody else has. So like,
you sent her there for a reason. Yeah,
if the vibes are off, she'd be the one to be able to pick them up.
I also think it reflects it's not just Gracie who's a victim of like, yeah, these women are vapid, because I think now that Gracie's realizing they have value, the men are still like, they're just beauty pageant contestants. Like, what could they bring? And Gracie's like, no, like, I live with them, and like, you all know I'm not like that. Like, they're not like that either. But then Eric looks all sad when she storms off and decides to stay by herself. You don't get to be sad. You did this to yourself. Stand by your decision.
Gracie was right. Gracie's always right.
Gracie was right.
No, Gracie isn't always right. Gracie was right here.
I think after like this point in the movie, she's pretty consistently right, but before, not so. And I think it's really interesting also because I think the lady in charge, spoiler alert, she's the bad guy, right? Represents what Gracie thought the show was about, because at one point she talks about how like, you know, I know what people, she's like, I know what people think, people like you think about us, like, and then she says that like, which is right, Gracie's making assumptions about these girls, but then she says people like you, and then she refers to them as like ugly people, feminist, and I'm like, you completely like, I don't know how you got the point and then you lost the point, right? But like, I think she represents what the show's about, because basically the reason she's mad at the show and is trying to blow up the winner of the show is because they want to fire her and replace her with someone younger. But like, she earlier herself said there's only value if you're pretty. So like while I understand being upset, she more than anyone else should understand why she's getting fired and replaced.
Yeah, like you can't perpetuate a harmful system and then be like, no, why is this harmful system that I put in place also hurting me? Like, come on, let's use our brain, Miss.
Use our thinking caps.
Landing gear. What's her name?
I don't know. I honestly, God, do not know. Morningstar? Morningstar's the veggie patties. I buy at home.
Morningstar works.
Something. So the FBI, like, the operation's packed up. Her boss has told her to go home. So she's staying behind as a citizen to complete it and, you know, try and save the girls. And Victor, the consultant, says, I don't get paid. Like, I was told I won't get paid if I don't pack up and leave. So I'm going too. And she's, like, trying to get ready. But he has to leave. And he goes, I always imagined if I had a daughter, he's like giving her compliments and how he's so proud of her and this is his finest work yet. And if I always imagined if I had a daughter, she'd be like you. And then he goes, that's probably why I never reproduced. That was really rude, but I was like, he was getting too nice, so we had to break the tension. And so she doesn't show up Gracie doesn't show up to dress for her, so she shows up to like the stage late. And she's like, okay, and they're like, do you need help getting ready? She's like, no, if I can just figure out which one is lipstick, it's fine. And I love this scene because Cheryl turns around, she goes, girls, and all of the girls who are supposed to be her competitors come in to help her get ready for the show because they have built friendships and women supporting women. And I really like this movie. It's so cute. Meanwhile, Victor is with the FBI agents and he's like chit-chatting about how, and Eric, to his credit, after they left, told someone to look up information about the head honcho lady Morningstar, and they were like, oh, she's, you know, divorced or widow, whatever, mother, you know, she's the devoted mother, blah 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 blah. And Victor's like, yeah, her son sucks, right? And Eric is like, oh, you know her son? And Victor's like, yeah, you know him too. This is a character we haven't brought up at all. His name's Frank, I think. He's just kind of like a side character, like, for the most part, kind of dinky, kind of a creep to the girls. We don't like him. But turns out secretly that's her son. But this whole time they just play off like they're just assistant. Like it's just her assistant, the head honcho lady's assistant. So Eric is like, maybe there's something to this. So we don't see this, but basically he rushes back to come support Gracie because he realizes she was right. Even though I think he realized she was right before, he just didn't say it. But anyway, I got beef with Eric at the end of this movie. But the scene where they all come in to help her do her makeup, I think like she realized they weren't what she thought. This is like this cemented in her brain here. And then I was saying, I was surprised there weren't more jokes made about her being Beauty and Grace, because her name is Gracie. And I think there should have been more jokes about that, because in this show, she falls on her face again. This is a running gag. It doesn't happen too often, but like often enough to be believable. So she falls again. And the host goes, oh, she's That wasn't very graceful, and I don't know if that was intentional, but I was like, I feel like we could have done more with
feel
that.
like we
Especially
really
with her and
should
Matthews
have.
joking.
Yeah.
She's beauty. She's Grace. She's Miss United States.
Gracie Lou Freebush.
She's beauty. She's Grace. She will punch you in the face, which is my personal favorite.
And she did, actually.
She did several times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also one of the best scenes in this movie. But Cheryl's talent is baton twirling, and she said she always wanted to do it with fire. So then Gracie gives her these batons that light up on fire. And she's like, Cheryl's like, no, I can't. And Gracie's like, you can. You ate pizza and you stole panties. You can do this.
You can play with fire.
And Cheryl goes out and does it. And then, this scene's also funny. Eric runs back, and Victor comes with him. And the guy, the security guard's like, you can't come in here. And Eric's like, here's my FBI badge. I could go in. And Victor's behind him, and Victor's like, I'm with him. And then shows his makeup compact. Like, he opens up a little makeup compact. He's like, I'm with him. And then they go in. And then the roles are reversed because the lady backstage is like, you can't be here, to Matthews. And she's like, oh, Victor, you're here. And Victor's like, yeah, he's with me. And Eric's like, I'm not with him. And Victor's like, come along, Muffin. And Eric's like, you know what? That's not worth the hassle that's going to take right now. And then, another formative moment for Kalina. Gracie's talent is her little water heart, but the problem is all the girls backstage drank all the water out the cup, so she can't play the little glasses. And so she's like, and so they're like running through things. Victor's like, can you whistle? No. And she's like, all I can do is shoot a gun. And Matthews goes, and you got a mean right hook. And she's like, oh my God, you're right. So her talent is she's going to show the girls how to practice self-defense. And Eric, unfortunately, is her slightly willing participant. And I said, the hottest thing a man can do
is get punched in the face.
Is be a little bit afraid of a woman. And the hottest thing a woman can do is be a little bit scary. Because she tells him to attack her from, like, the front. And she, like, shoves her heel of her palm up against his nose. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, okay, come on, attack me from behind. And Eric's like, I really don't want to do that. And she's like, oh, guys, I think Eric's a little scared. I think we should give him a round of applause. And Eric's like, yeah, haha, thanks, great. And then she attacks him from behind and flips him. And then we have what I have memorized, which is sing, which is when you attack someone, it's solar plexus, instep, nose, groin. So if you're ever getting attacked, those are the points you want to hit. And then poor Matthews just gets his behind.
He really does. Television. He gets his shit rocked, and it is gorgeous. I love when a woman is violent.
Yeah. And then, I'm sorry, we're speeding through this. Not too much happens. Basically, feminism, right? Also, how young are these girls? Because Gracie's little cover stories are they're like announcing the top 5. She makes it in the top 5, which she's shocked. Like, this part wasn't rigged, so she genuinely made it into the top 5. And they're like, Gracie Lou Freebush wants to be a pediatrician. How old are these women that they're not finished with school?
They're all in, because remember, a big part, Gracie's like, oh, this is just a beauty pageant, it's vapid, and everyone else is like, it's a scholarship program. So they all have at least 1 year of college left to go. So, early 20s.
I think they could have done a better job casting people who look like they were in their early 20s. No offense.
Yeah. But I mean,
like, Gracie, I get. Gracie's obviously past college. She's, like, working, blah, 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 blah. All we know is she's under the age of 35. But, like, the rest of them don't look like they're in their early 20s.
No, they do not. But maybe it's a grad school scholarship.
And, like, to be fair, like, if they're like, she wants to be a pediatrician, like, med school.
Yeah, that takes a while.
Sure, I get
but,
it. But, like, not 35.
They all looked the same age, at least, but they all did not look like the same age was in college.
And at one point, when Gracie is in the top 5, Matthews goes, you grow, Gracie Lou. And I was like, okay, he's redeemed.
Yeah.
I take it back everything I said. And then she looks so nice. They do interviews after the top 5. Kind of like dating show style, where like the people asking the questions are behind like the little panel, and they're like, this question's for Miss New Jersey, and she's answering. They're like, what was the, I said it was the perfect question for her. Oh, it was basically like, what do you say to people who like think this competition is vapid and shallow? It's just the conversation. She was like, well, I would say I used to be one of them, but these are some of the most wonderful, intelligent women I've met in my life, blah 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 blah. And then she goes, and also, if anyone tried to hurt any of my new friends, I would end them. I would make them regret that they were ever born, because she knows that, I think the lady's name is Kathy, the head lady. I like Morningstar. She knows that Morningstar is
up to something,
the bad guy, and she's the one asking the questions.
My thing is, like, I don't know why there was a screen if they just called people out by names anyway.
They knew who was asking the questions. Yeah. And then she figures out where the bomb is. It's in the crown that they're going to put on the winner. And so she's trying to explain this to Melling, right? Victor Melling. But he's like, he thinks she's saying she wants to win the crown. And
she's
like,
only
she doesn't want
miming
to
it. She's not explaining it. She has to like mime it. And she's like doing
She's like, crown. It's the crown.
And he's like, oh, raise the roof.
He goes, absolutely, wear the crown, be the crown. And that made me think of when I first started playing water polo, and I'm a goalkeeper. And so I used to joke around before a game that I was like, I have to see the ball. I have to feel the ball. I have to be the ball, because that's how you catch it. But yeah, I guess she didn't want to yell bomb in a room full, like a crowded room, because she was just like, it's the crown. Yeah. And she's like miming to Matthews while she's on the stage, and Matthews is like, what?
Yeah, nobody is picking up what she's putting down. But also,
no. And then, mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like if she had screamed out that it was a bomb, they A, would not have believed her, and B, if they did believe her, it would have caused so much panic that more people would have gotten hurt. Also, there's no way they put a bomb in that crown. That is just not possible, okay? There's no... I don't care what kind of science you have to make up for that to work.
I saw the miming they did with the little mannequin. It kind of looked like the... I apologize. I'm not religious, and I've never participated in Ash Wednesday. It looked to me like the little mark you get on your forehead for Ash Wednesday. It was like an upside down T. Do you get a cross for Ash Wednesday? Okay, so it was upside down capital T.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like it depends on when you go. Because, like, the first couple of people get a perfect cross. Towards the end, you just... The priest is just like, yeah, here. Good.
Here's my fingerprint. Go and God be with you. And then so basically Gracie is named runner-up. And Cheryl, who's, like, her closest friend in this, Miss Rhode Island, is the winner. And Gracie's like, don't put the crown on, but no one understands her again, so they just think she's upset and trying to steal the crown. So there's just absolute chaos of a scene where Matthews is trying to fight the security guard who figured out he had a gun and thinks he's here to do evil. Gracie's trying to fight the crown, like get the crown off of Cheryl's head. Everyone's trying to hold her back because they think she's just upset that she lost, and it's just absolute chaos. I absolutely love it.
It was very stressful for me.
Basically, they get they get the crown off, and she flings it in the air just before it goes off, and it explodes over. And like, I think because earlier in the movie we saw Kathy's son practicing the way he was going to lay out the C4 to make the bomb. So like, I can agree it would fit in the crown. However, I agree with Elanor that it would not have caused an explosion as big as it did.
No way.
Because the crown's not that big. So the C4 couldn't have been that big. It would have certainly blown Cheryl's head off. Yes, that would have happened. But she flung it in the air, and they had like not a life size, but they had a very large replica of the Statue of Liberty, and that was like pretty much destroyed. It wouldn't have been that good. But, so they arrest Kathy. Gracie's putting her in the car, and she's like, Kathy's like trying to explain her motivation. She's like, I'm trying to keep these girls' dreams alive. And Gracie's like, do you really think getting blown up was these girls' dreams? Yeah, maybe you do have a chance of that insanity plea. Because again, Kathy's being a hypocrite, because she's like, being pretty is your only value, but oh my god, they want to replace me with someone because I'm old and not pretty.
And also,
which like, she's not pretty, but like,
Kathy is like, this is a beauty pageant, and then Gracie is the one who's talking like, it's a scholarship program. And I just thought that was really cute. Yeah. And also, like,
I think this is believable, realistic, time conscious growth for the character.
Yeah, the most insane person in this movie is Kathy, because why would that be a good idea? Like, what?
Yeah, I'm just trying to protect these girls' dreams of getting my head blown
If my options were retire or be put in prison for the rest of my life, I'd retire. Okay? It's not that big of a deal. They can still put you on, like, I don't know, a Nair bottle. What's the beauty pageant version of being on the Wheaties box?
Hairspray?
Hairspray, yeah. You could be a cover
Farrah
girl
Fawcett type vibe?
for their new anti-aging
Cover girl.
line. Like, figure something out.
And then we get a nice another call. This movie does a lot of callbacks, but we get a callback. Matthews, again, back to the homeless. Matthews kind of was doing it for me. This him post-bomb, kind of covered in soot, looking a little disheveled, also very much working for me. And he was like, so maybe like when all this is over, like we can go out for dinner or something. And she's like, oh, she starts singing her song again. You think I'm gorgeous. You want to kiss me. And then she actually grabs him and kisses him. But like before that, he's like, no, we can go out to eat as friends. If we end up having sex after that, whatever happens. I'm not saying no to that. But she grabs him and kisses him. And I love him. He has redeemed himself. I did really genuinely, if it were me, I would have been done with him after the whole why don't you shut up scene. And then, so they're packing up. It's the next morning. They're getting ready to leave. She's now in an FBI, like, proper suit, but she's back in her FBI clothes. But you can tell there's a difference between this and beginning Gracie that we met. And she's talking about the heels, and she's like, oh, I'm kind of going to miss them. They're really good for my posture, and I'm suddenly very aware and proud of my breasts. And Matthews goes, me too. And Melanie comes running out the hotel, and he's like, oh my God, there's another bag. Like, you got to come in quick. You got to hurry up and get here. So she rushes in, and then she rushes into Cheryl giving a speech about how she won Miss Congeniality. Full circle moment. That's the name of the movie. And Melanie's like, yeah, I knew you would only come back in here if you thought you got the chance to shoot somebody. So sorry. And she tries to leave, but they make her get up there and give a little speech. And she's like, this has been like a really great experience in my life. And she gets a little teary. And I'm glad they put her back in I'm glad it wasn't like, oh, now she's going to start dressing really hot and in these tiny dresses and like little pantsuits. Like, she's wearing her FBI outfit, but like you can tell. Again, she doesn't, like, her hair is still down. It's not like super done, but she's like more confident, and you can tell there has been a change, but she's still the same character.
Yeah, they do a good job of, like, I don't know. She's just sort of evolved and not completely turned up around.
And I like that the whole point of the movie was a woman having that realization, not like a man going, oh my God, women have value beyond being hot. Like, it was internalized misogyny thing, because I think a lot of times they do that and the man has the realization and he has to teach the woman, whereas here it was flipped.
Yeah, here it was handled well, and I feel like for the most part it was handled realistically. Like Kalina said, it was a good timeline for everything that she learned. Our little Gracie.
Yeah, that's part of, like, we know I don't like rom-coms, and like I think a lot of times, especially when it's like, this wasn't enemies to lovers, I would say, but like obviously they were a little bit antagonistic with each other, even though they were friends. But like, especially when it starts out like that, I'm like, it's like one moment they're not talking and the next moment they're madly in love, and I'm like, you all have had like 2 conversations in the span of this. So like here, especially because they were friends at the beginning of the movie, it felt established, it was realistic that they fell in love. So like that's I don't mind the romance aspect of it.
He didn't like propose. He asked her out on a date. So like it was a very it was good. Because too many of these movies are like, oh yeah, like You People. Yeah,
You People. Oh, we don't have time. We would be here forever. Anyway, I think this is a really good movie. If you'd like us to watch the second one, I don't like the second one as much, but I think it's I think this movie did a great job of being a comedy that wasn't like in your face funny. I like the humor in it, and it had a point. It had like, I don't want to say value, but for lack of a better word, value. I can't think of it right now. The second one is like, I think, more on the comedy side.
I think rom-coms, especially like 2000s rom-coms, have the tendency to fall into like, nobody's doing nothing on the whole. So like, I feel like it's a good moral and it's realistic and it's.
I had a good balance of all its elements. Wikipedia describes it as action comedy. I think it had a good balance of action like comedy. It had like a nice mix of everything. So the second one is like, I think, more comedy, but if you would like us, it's a buddy comedy with 2 women as Gracie and this other lady. So I think you would like that. But there is no Benjamin
Also,
Bratt,
I just want to sneak this in here, because I feel like we would have been on it for a really long time if I'd brought it up earlier. According to the Wikipedia page, Ellen DeGeneres claims that this movie was inspired by her, and that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Do you have any final thoughts not about that thing?
I really want to talk about that thing. No, thank you so much for listening. Let us know if you want us to watch the second one. Or if you have any other movie suggestions, you can follow us on Instagram and
Twitter,
TikTok,
and
don't
TikTok,
quote us on
and everything but Facebook, because we're not 70.
And Twitter is Don't Quote Us 27. And have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day or night or whatever. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.